Hello everyone, we are here at Bristol Motor Speedway after the Bass Pro Shops Night Race, also known this year as the Kyle Larson 500. I mean, it was, that was just a thorough, complete ass-kicking. Larson started second, got to the lead on lap 33. He led 462 of the 500 laps. It's the most laps anyone's led in a Cup race since 2019. It's the most laps anyone's led at Bristol since 1977. They just, from the car to pit stops, they just had an absolutely flawless race. I mean, did it ever look like at any point that they weren't going to win?
Maybe here and there, like, you know, you never know what can happen on restarts and everything, and getting a lot of traffic, that was the only concern, you know, getting through that, but just hitting his marks and not speeding on pit road, unlike somebody else we're going to talk about in a little bit. You know, he executed flawlessly, and I asked Cliff Daniels afterwards, you know, how do you coach a driver like that, you know, on a dominating performance? And he's basically just like, you know, we work well together, you know, you just got to keep them calm and cool and collected, essentially, and that's what they did. It's a good old, Bristol's a historic track, and we saw historic, as you said, butt kicking tonight. So
yes, historic indeed. But to that point, also Larson, known for, you know, going all out as much as he can, also talked about, you know, especially in that last run when no one was close to him, just about, you know, just conserving himself a little bit, just in case there was, you know, another restart. But that wasn't the case. You know, kind of in a stark reversal of what we've seen the last several weeks. 6 of the last 7 races have ended in overtime. On the other hand, this one went 163 laps to the end. They made the final pit stops under caution, so it was just 163 laps of straight racing. In the end, only 10 cars finished in the lead lap. Larson won by 7 seconds, which is the largest margin of victory in the next-gen era, breaking the previous record of 5.5 set by Christopher Bell at Phoenix earlier this year. And again, no one was really just any match. Chase Elliott finished second. Christopher Bell finished third. Finishing fourth was Denny Hamlin, and you know, there's quite a lot to say about his race, especially, you know, entering below the cut line.
Yes, before we go to Hamlin, I do want to mention also Kyle Larson did break Jeff Gordon's record of most wins at Hendrick Motorsports. Oh, laps led.
Laps led in a single race.
Yes, at Hendrick Motorsports. So that happened tonight too. But Denny Hamlin, yes, he talked about a guy who needed to be clutch. A guy under pressure, a guy who rode around on Atlanta just trying to get 20 points, you know, and then Watkins Glen happened. He came in here and did what he had to do. He finished fourth. He's running top 5, top 10 most of the night. Him and Briscoe were sort of just inching. They can never separate themselves, but they were moving forward. I asked him about it post-race, about him and Briscoe being together, and he said they were just, you know, pulling the crumbs away so little by little to get to the front, and they almost had it. And then Chris Gabehart, I talked to him afterwards about the tires and stuff, and he basically said, the old Bristol's gone. So this is what we have. You have drivers who are separated by just inches of setups. All the cars are the same. And so this is what we get with Bristol. You just have to execute it, and Danny Hamlin did a great job executing it. And what's funny is his daughter was on pit road before we spoke to him, and she was excited. And asked her, she was nervous, and she used those Gen Z words. She's like, yes, I was very demure, very mindful. So all is well in the Hamlin household with him advancing.
You're getting pretty old, so I'm pretty sure she's Gen Alpha. But
yes.
but to that point, another, you know, I guess, funny story going into this is Denny Hamlin, his family, his kids, they saw a dog in the Gateway weekend. They adopted it. Her nickname is Lulu, and ever since then, Denny has just had a lot of bad luck. You know, and it was kind of joking. This is her last chance, and you know, he posted after the race, "All right, she can stay." Yeah,
I almost asked him about it if we had a little bit more time. I wanted to get that after all the serious questions. I wanted to see if we could slide that in there, but we did not. But congrats to Denny Hamlin. You know, maybe he's all in. Maybe this could be the year he wins the championship. So we'll find out and see. He has to go through the next round to get there.
Yeah, but also, you know, just also an impressive performance. Just considering, you know, they just had no momentum at all. The crash at Atlanta, the crash at Watkins Glen, the huge points penalty for the Bristol engine. They lost so many playoff points. They lost so many regular season points. He looked like the guy to beat early in the season, and it suddenly looked like, you know, everything could just come crashing down like in the first round. Mm-hmm. But, you know, like we said, he had a really clutch race. It wasn't a win. No one else was catching that 5 car unless, you know, really. But but he made his way from below the cut in advance, and he was the only one to make his way from below the cut in advance. Three of them, the other three that were below it stayed below it. The one driver that was above the cut and was eliminated was his teammate Ty Gibbs. Ty led 137 laps here in the spring. He was having a pretty good race himself, but middle of stage 2, sped on pit road, and as we saw, this was not like March, where the tires, there's a bunch of tire wear, drivers can make more moves, make more passes around the track. Track position was king. There was no tire wear. You could make passes, but it was much more difficult. And once he had that penalty, it just, their day was just, their bed was made. He got his way back at the 8th, but then he fell back at the end, and he was eliminated. Another driver that fell victim to a very costly speeding penalty was another Joe Gibbs Racing car, Martin Truex Jr. Truex, he's not the best at Bristol, although he did finish second here in March, but he was having an incredible race, arguably his best race in months. Started 4th, running top five all day, running second, getting a ton of stage points, but, lap 333, what happened?
He sped on pit road, much like his teammate Ty Gibbs, but I spoke to him after the race, and I was doing some stat research. He's only had 2 top 10s in the last 17 races. That's a guy that's been known for consistency, a guy that's been known for, just winning races. He's a champion of the sport. It's his final full-time season in Cup, and he's not going to be able to race for a championship. There is a silver lining there. He did talk about the final 7 races and trying to get a win there. And I asked him, I was like, you still have a decent points results, in the last 7 races, because once you're in the playoffs, you can be 16th. So he can still finish fairly well in the playoffs. But, he just has to shift his mind, his focus to winning a race now. And he, from what he said, the curve, you can't see it right now. You can see it. You can't see it in front of us, but the hill that goes down around turn 4 into the pit road, he was off by 0.9 miles per hour. He couldn't get the lights from red to green in time, and it's a margin of inches. You can lose your championship by a margin of inches, and that's what happened tonight.
It was another tough result for him. It's been just a nightmare stretch for them ever since Darlington in May. Truex has had an average finish of worse than 24th, which is just ridiculous, considering how good of a driver he is and how good that team is. And it's not like they're slow. Like we saw tonight, they were one of the best cars, but it's either, bad luck getting caught in someone else's mess, or like Watkins Glen, or making a very rookie mistake with a good car like Darlington, the Southern 500, or tonight just unforced errors, whether it's speeding or bad pit stops. It's just been a very nightmare stretch, and they just haven't been able to stop the bleeding. But Truex does have 7 more races to get that farewell win, at least in his full-time tenure, and he also doesn't have to worry about stage points now. He can just go straight for the win. Meanwhile, so Gibbs and Truex are out. Only 2 of the JGR cars remain. The other 2 to get eliminated were Brad Keselowski and Harrison Burton. It was a long shot, and his car, he went into the garage halfway through the race. Power steering issues, basically a non-factor. And then Keselowski, really good at Bristol, finished 3rd here in March, but just did not have the speed. Got trapped a lap down early, and never was able to recover, and he's out too. But the guy that's probably breathing the biggest sigh of relief now is Daniel Suarez. He entered with a plus 35 point advantage to the cut, and yet almost lost it because they had probably the worst race of their season.
He was what, 3 laps down?
I think 4 laps down. But Suarez got lapped very early on. He also got put 2 laps down very early on, so any chance of him doing the wave around to the free pass was over. I think he finished 4 laps down by the end. I think he finished 30th or 32nd, somewhere around there. He managed to advance by a couple points, but it's a good thing that he finished 2nd at Atlanta. Got a ton of playoff points there, because that was the one thing that saved that's kind of saved them here. Also, another storyline going into this race was the fact that, earlier this weekend, in a rather surprising twist, it hasn't been done since 2012, we had a driver trade. Corey LaJoie to Rick Ware Racing, Justin Haley to Spire. Haley's going to be a Spire in 2025. RWR didn't confirm Corey would be with them next year yet, but it's a trade. It's happening right in the middle of the season, and it's starting effective next week at Kansas. So this was their last race with their respective teams, and fortunately, it wasn't the best of days for Corey. He crashed out midway through. You got to talk to him at the Care Center. What did he have to say?
First of all, he was bummed because he was on a great day. He felt like they had a top 10 car. He was running 13th or 14th at the time, so he was upset about that. I asked him, what was it like, being at Bristol Night Race, your last time at Spire, in this car? And he said, I'm not gonna lie to you, man, like I had a lump in my throat this morning thinking about it. So, they had the press conference yesterday and everything, and they went into the details of it, and this has been a team that's been on the rise with especially like a guy like Carson Hocevar, who's outperformed, as a rookie and stuff. And so they're adding Justin Haley to the team. But I mean, regardless of how people feel about him, Corey LaJoie helped build this team into what it was. And so that team has gotten into a great position. And it's going to be bittersweet not seeing him with Spire anymore. But good luck to him, and hopefully there's no voice out for him next year.
Yeah. Unfortunate final race, but last week he did have an 8th place finish for them. It was a part of a Spire triple top 10. And then we'll get back to the playoffs, because another big story, out of this one was Chase Briscoe. Won at Darlington, the Southern 500 in the 11th hour to qualify for the playoffs. Last place at Atlanta, looked like basically his hopes were over. Then he had an incredible race at Watkins Glen, scored the most points, and had the highest finish of all playoff drivers in 6th. Found himself 6 points above, but it was quite the it was quite the race for them. They had a ton of speed, qualified 5th, but first it was, the rear view mirror went out before 100 laps were completed. Then it was a brake fan fire that quickly went out. Then it was a poor pit stop, costing them precious spots in the final pit stop, going from 3rd place back to about 15th. But Chase had a ton of speed. He had a ton of stamina to get through the day. He finished the day in 8th. Made it to the next round. Quite a performance from him. You also got to talk to him. What did he have to say?
Yeah. So he really feels like Stewart Haas Racing is at its peak. He said the chemistry's never been better. He said that the camaraderie is very strong at the shop, and he said verbatim, it's not like I want to stick it to SHR, but I really want to go out there and prove that I can do this and prove that we are capable of doing this. And his teammate Noah Gragson, I saw him at pit road congratulating him afterwards, asking the same thing, and he's willing to help and do whatever it takes for Chase Briscoe to win this championship. And just the brotherhood and the family environment that they have at SHR right now, something that was missing a long time. And Briscoe told me that he feels like he can go win this thing. He said their cars they're as fast as they've been all year, and so he's confident. And I would not be surprised going to the next round to see Chase Briscoe running top 10, top 5, maybe getting a win. Maybe at the World War or something. So
yeah. Prior to his win in the Southern 500, Chase only had 1 top 10 in the 3 months prior to the Southern 500 win. Now he has a win in 3 top 10s in the last 4 races. And if you think back to his first playoff appearance back in 2022 when he scored his first win at Phoenix, he kind of struggled after scoring that win, but he was only 5 laps away from doing the unthinkable and making the championship 4 with a win at Martinsville. It wasn't in the cards, but they peaked at the right time that season. If they're peaking at the right time now, it's the last dance for SHR. They're putting all their eggs into this basket. They've looked impressive. They've looked incredible in terms of speed the last several weeks. So, I think they'll definitely be ones to watch. But now, that's the end of the round of 16. Definitely think there will be some controversy just with Bristol. Some people wanted the tires to wear, maybe some didn't.
Larson loved it.
Yeah, Bell also thought it was a fine race. That passing wasn't difficult. Although he also wasn't a fan, like Larson. He wasn't a fan of the extreme tire wear, blowouts. But yep, he wasn't a fan of that in March. But this kind of was the antithesis to March. Kind of unpredictability then, and it was just a straight up domination fest. But sometimes sometimes those happen, and and it's, in my opinion, it's good to have that once in a while, just because Kyle Larson's going to go down as an all-time great, and this was just you know, an historic all-time great performance, and you know, they really put the exclamation mark, you know, especially on this. So
to wrap it up, basically, regardless if it's the spring or tonight, no matter what, it's Bristol, baby.
Yes, indeed. We had a great time bringing you coverage from Bristol. We're off to Kansas Speedway next week. I will be there for the round of 12. So long from Thunder Valley. I'm Steven Stumpf, East Trenton, Worsham, and we'll see you next week.
Steven Stumpf of Frontstretch.com here. Come back for more great racing videos, and if you like us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.